Like, subscribe, and turn on notification for more amazing video. Respect!
"Don't hurt the human, I'll buy him," said the alien girl. "Call him savage if you want." Ryan's muscles strained against the heavy ore cart as he pushed it along the rusted tracks of Tarkus 4's infamous mines. Sweat dripped from his brow, mixing with the grime that coated his face after 12 hours of backbreaking labor. The mine's dim lighting cast long shadows across his dirt-streaked, muscular frame, highlighting the numerous scars that told stories of his resistance. "Move faster, savage!" barked Krell, the turquoise-skinned overseer striking his shock baton against the cart with a metallic clang. Production quotas doubled today. Ryan gritted his teeth but said nothing. 6 months in this hellhole had taught him when to fight and when to endure. The steel shackles around his wrists chafed against raw skin as he leaned harder into the cart. "What's the matter, human? Too weak?" Krell taunted, his lipless mouth stretching into what passed for a smile among the Tarkusians. "Maybe we should have kept those pathetic females from your ship instead." That did it. Ryan's patience snapped like a stressed cable. He whirled around, eyes blazing with fury. "Say that again," he growled, voice low and dangerous. The nearby alien workers scattered, knowing what was coming. Ryan stood tall despite his exhaustion, his broad shoulders squared and fists clenched. At 6'2", he towered over the Tarkusian guard. Krell's yellow eyes widened momentarily before narrowing with malice. "Threatening a guard? That's worth 50 lashes, savage." He raised his communicator. "Security to Section 7, bringing in the human for discipline." 2 more guards appeared, their shock batons crackling with blue energy. They grabbed Ryan's arms, but he wasn't going down without a fight. With a roar, he headbutted the first guard, sending him sprawling. The second received an elbow to his throat sac, causing him to drop his baton and collapse, gasping for breath. "Enough!" Krell shouted, firing a warning shot from his pulse pistol. "On your knees, human, or I'll shoot your legs out!" Ryan froze, chest heaving. He could take more guards, but not a pulse pistol at point-blank range. Slowly, he sank to his knees, eyes never leaving Krell's. "That's better," Krell sneered, approaching with the confidence of a predator cornering its prey. "Time to teach all these slaves what happens when—" What exactly is happening here? A melodious yet authoritative female voice cut through the tension like a plasma blade. All heads turned toward the mine entrance. Standing there was a tall, slender figure, a humanoid alien woman with smooth, ature skin that seemed to shimmer under the harsh mining lights. Her refined facial features were set in an expression of cool curiosity, elegant fingers with dark manicure tapping against her thigh. She wore a formal diplomatic outfit, dark with crisp white cuffs that somehow remained immaculate despite the dusty environment. "Commissioner Illyri," Krell stammered, immediately straightening. "This is just routine discipline. The human threatened me and attacked my guards." Illyri's piercing violet eyes assessed the situation, lingering on Ryan's defiant stance despite being on his knees. Something flickered across her face. Interest, perhaps. "And what did you do to provoke him?" she asked, her tone making it clear she already knew the answer. Krell's mouth opened and closed, but no sound emerged. Illyri approached, her movements graceful despite the uneven ground. She circled Ryan slowly, studying him with the intensity of a scientist examining a rare specimen. "Don't touch the human male," she said suddenly, as Krell moved to strike Ryan with his baton. "I'll buy him." A murmur rippled through the gathered aliens. Ryan's head snapped up, confusion evident in his expression. "Commissioner, this one is trouble," Krell protested. "He's broken 3 guards' limbs since arrival and sabotaged mining equipment twice." A smile played at the corners of Illyri's mouth. "Call him a savage if you want, but I'll find another use for him." She extended an electronic payment tag. "Name your price." Krell hesitated, then named a sum that made even the other guards gasp. Without blinking, Illyri authorized the payment. "Remove his shackles." "But Commissioner—" "Now." The single word carried the weight of an imperial decree. As the restraints fell away, Ryan rubbed his raw wrists, eyeing Illyri warily. He'd gone from prisoner to property in the span of minutes, and he wasn't sure which was worse. "Stand up," Illyri commanded, her voice softer now, but no less firm. Ryan rose to his full height, towering over her despite her own considerable stature. Their eyes met, defiance against curiosity. "What's your name, human?" she asked. "Ryan," he answered, voice rough from disuse. "Ryan Caldwell." "Well, Ryan Caldwell," she said, a hint of amusement coloring her tone. "It seems today is your lucky day. Follow me." As they walked out of the mine, the eyes of every alien worker and guard followed them. Ryan could feel the weight of their stares, some envious, others relieved to see him go. He had no idea what awaited him, but it had to be better than the mines, or so he hoped. Illyri's private transport glided silently through the smog-filled Tarkusian sky. Ryan sat awkwardly on a cushioned seat that seemed designed for a body structure nothing like his own, trying to maintain his dignity despite being covered in mine grime. "You smell terrible," Illyri remarked matter-of-factly, her violet eyes studying him with unabashed interest. Ryan snorted. 6 months in a mine with one water ration a week will do that." "Fascinating," she murmured, leaning closer. "Your species uses humor as a defense mechanism. My species uses soap as a cleaning mechanism when available," he countered dryly. To his surprise, Illyri laughed, a melodic sound like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "You'll have access to cleaning facilities at my residence. I've studied human physiology, but never had the opportunity to interact with one directly." Ryan's eyes narrowed. "So I'm a lab rat now instead of a mine slave? Great improvement." "Not a lab rat," she corrected, tapping something into a translucent tablet. "A cultural exchange participant." The transport descended toward an elegant spire that rose above the industrial sprawl of the Tarkusian capital. Unlike the utilitarian structures surrounding it, this building featured flowing lines and gleaming surfaces that caught the light of the setting sun. "Welcome to the Elysium Embassy," Leary said as the transport docked at a private landing pad. "Your new home for now." Ryan followed her through sliding doors into an interior that was surprisingly Earth-like in its comfort, if not its aesthetics. The furniture was oddly angled, but recognizably functional. The temperature was pleasantly warm after the perpetual chill of the mines. "Your quarters," Illyri gestured to a doorway. "The cleaning facility is through there. I'll have appropriate attire delivered while you decontaminate." Ryan stepped into a bathroom that would have looked futuristic on Earth, but was probably standard here. After some experimentation with the controls, he managed to activate a shower that sprayed not water, but some kind of cleansing mist that dissolved the grime on contact. 20 minutes later, feeling human again for the first time in months, Ryan emerged wrapped in a towel to find clothing laid out on a bed. Simple garments in neutral colors that actually seemed designed for human proportions. When he rejoined Illyri in what appeared to be a living area, her eyes widened appreciatively. "Much better," she said, circling him slowly. "Your species has remarkable musculature. Is that natural or artificially enhanced?" "Natural," Ryan replied, uncomfortably aware of her scrutiny. I was a military engineer before my ship was captured. Physical training was mandatory." "Fascinating," she said again, stopping directly in front of him. "On my world, physical strength is considered primitive. We value intellectual and diplomatic abilities." "And yet you bought yourself a primitive," Ryan observed, meeting her gaze directly. Illyri's lips curved upward. "I bought myself an opportunity to learn about a species that has the entire Galactic Council in an uproar." "What?" "Your Earth vessel wasn't supposed to be captured," she explained, gesturing for him to sit. "Humans weren't scheduled for first contact for another 30 cycles. The Tarkusians violated protocol by attacking your exploration ship." Ryan sat stiffly on the edge of a chair that seemed to mold itself to his body. "So why am I a slave instead of being sent home with an apology?" "Politics," Illyri sighed, settling across from him. "The Tarkusian Empire claims your ship violated their territorial boundaries. The Galactic Council is divided on how to respond. Meanwhile, the Tarkusians have distributed their human captives throughout their territory." "As slaves," Ryan growled. "As valuable assets," Illyri corrected. "Your species is unknown, potentially dangerous, or the Tarkusians are studying you while extracting labor value." "And what are you doing?" Ryan challenged. Illyri leaned forward, her azure skin catching the light. "I'm conducting my own study. I've read the preliminary reports on human culture, language, biology, but data isn't understanding. I want to know how humans think, what they value, how they perceive the universe. And if I refuse to be your cultural specimen, then I return you to the mines, she said simply, or you could stay here in comfort, helping me compile the most comprehensive analysis of humanity ever presented to the Galactic Council, potentially influencing their decision on Earth's fate. Ryan's jaw tightened. That's not much of a choice. More than you had this morning, Illyri pointed out. She stood gracefully and moved to a cabinet, retrieving a bottle of iridescent liquid. Shall we begin our cultural exchange with a custom both our species share? A drink to mark new beginnings? She poured 2 glasses and offered one to Ryan. He hesitated, then took it, their fingers brushing momentarily. A subtle current seemed to pass between them at the contact. To understanding, Illyri proposed, raising her glass. Ryan studied the alien woman. Her confident posture, the intelligence in her eyes, the hint of genuine curiosity in her expression. Whatever game she was playing, it beat the hell out of the minds. To understanding, he agreed, and drank. The liquid burned pleasantly down his throat, leaving a taste like honey and starlight. As the warmth spread through his body, Ryan realized he was smiling for the first time in 6 months. Maybe being a cultural curiosity wouldn't be so bad after all. 3 days into Ryan's new life at the Elysium Embassy, the morning calm was shattered by the arrival of an unexpected visitor. Ryan was in the middle of explaining Earth sports to a fascinated Illyri when her communication panel chimed urgently. Commissioner Illyri, announced a mechanical voice, Ambassador Drax of the Vexillian Confederation requests immediate audience. Illyri's posture stiffened, her azure skin paling slightly. Drax? Here? Now? Who's Drax? Ryan asked, noting her discomfort. A collector, she replied tersely, smoothing her formal attire. And not someone I particularly enjoy dealing with. Before she could elaborate, the embassy door slid open to reveal a tall, imposing figure. The alien who strode in had obsidian skin that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. His eyes were amber orbs without pupils, set in a face with sharp predatory features. He wore an elaborate crimson uniform adorned with what appeared to be trophies, small trinkets and tokens from dozens of worlds. Illyri, my dear, his voice was smooth as oil and just as slick. How delightful to find you at home. Ambassador Drax, Illyri responded coolly. This is unexpected. Drax's amber eyes fixed on Ryan, widening with undisguised interest. So the rumors are true. You've acquired a human specimen. Ryan bristled at being called a specimen, but kept his expression neutral. Something about this alien set off every warning bell in his military-trained instincts. This is Ryan Caldwell, Illyri introduced him with surprising formality. A cultural consultant from Earth. Consultant? Drax laughed, a sound like glass breaking. Come now, Illyri. We both know he's your latest acquisition. Though I must say, you've outdone yourself this time. He circled Ryan, examining him like a prized animal. Magnificent musculature, primitive but impressive. Ryan clenched his jaw, fighting the urge to punch the smug alien in his face. Ryan is helping me compile research on human culture for the Galactic Council, Illyri stated firmly. Of course he is, Drax's tone dripped with condescension. Just as my Chronaxian singing beetle helps me appreciate music, and my miniature Gorgon helps me appreciate sculpture. He turned to Illyri, his expression suddenly serious. I'll give you triple, whatever you pay the Tarkusians. He's not for sale, Illyri replied immediately. Everything has a price, my dear. Drax smiled, revealing teeth that seemed too sharp for a diplomat. 5 times then. The human stays with me, Illyri's voice had taken on a dangerous edge. Ryan watched this exchange with growing unease, feeling like a prize stallion being haggled over at auction. I'm standing right here, he finally interjected, drawing surprised looks from both aliens. And I'm not property to be traded. Drax's laughter filled the room. It speaks with such conviction. Delightful. He turned back to Illyri. I understand your reluctance. You've only just begun your research, but perhaps we could approach this differently. He paced the room, his crimson uniform catching the light. A competition of sorts to determine which of us can better understand and handle this fascinating creature. I'm not interested in your games, Drax, Illyri said flatly. Not even if the stakes include information about the other humans captured with this one? Drax asked innocently. Ryan's head snapped up. You know where my crew is. I know many things, Drax smiled. The Vexillian Confederation has extensive intelligence networks, and I'm willing to share what I know if Commissioner Illyri agrees to my little contest. Illyri and Ryan exchanged glances. Ryan gave a subtle nod. What exactly are you proposing? Illyri asked cautiously. 3 challenges, Drax explained, clearly pleased with himself. Tests to determine which of us better understands human nature. If you win, I provide information on the human captives and leave empty-handed. If I win, the human comes with me, and I still provide the information. I'm not unreasonable after all. And if I refuse, then I take my intelligence about the human captives directly to the Galactic Council, Drax shrugged, along with some concerning reports about your unorthodox research methods. The threat hung in the air between them. Ryan could see Illyri calculating her options, none of them good. I accept, she finally said, but I set the terms of the challenges. Naturally, Drax agreed too quickly, though I insist the final challenge be of my design. Fine. First challenge begins tomorrow morning, Illyri declared. Now, if you'll excuse us, Ambassador, we have research to continue. Drax bowed with mock formality. Until tomorrow, then. Rest well, human. You'll need your primitive strength. After he left, Ryan turned to Illyri. What the hell was that about? Drax collects rare specimens from across the galaxy, she explained, pacing nervously. He's obsessed with owning unique life forms, especially intelligent ones, and humans are the newest curiosity. You shouldn't have agreed to his game, Ryan said. I'm not worth risking your career over. Illyri stopped pacing and looked at him with an expression he couldn't quite read. Perhaps I have my own reasons for wanting to keep you here. Something in her tone made Ryan's pulse quicken. For a moment, they simply looked at each other, the air between them charged with unspoken possibilities. So, Ryan finally broke the silence. What's our first challenge going to be? Illyri's lips curved into a mischievous smile. Something Drax, with all his specimens, could never understand about humans. Something that will showcase what makes your species truly remarkable. Which is your adaptability, she said, and your inexplicable ability to form connections, even with beings from other worlds. You want me to wear what? Ryan stared at the formal attire Illyri had laid out for him, an iridescent suit that seemed to shift colors with every movement, complemented by a high collar adorned with symbols he didn't recognize. Traditional Galactic Council formal wear, Illyri explained, her own outfit a stunning ensemble of midnight blue that accentuated her azure skin. The first challenge will take place at the Interspecies Diplomatic Gala tonight. Ryan ran a hand through his hair. I was expecting something more physical, like fighting one of Drax's pet monsters. That's exactly what he wants, to showcase your physical prowess while highlighting your savage nature. Illyri's fingers deftly adjusted the suit's collar. But I've chosen a battlefield where different human qualities will shine. Diplomatic small talk? Ryan raised an eyebrow. Not exactly my specialty. No, Illyri smiled, her violet eyes sparkling with mischief. But adaptability, quick thinking, and genuine connection are human specialties. Drax collects species, but he never truly understands them. He sees only their surface value as curiosities. As Ryan dressed, Illyri briefed him on the complex social protocols of the 7 major species attending the gala. The Tarkusians considered direct eye contact a challenge. The Meldorians communicated emotion through subtle skin color changes. The Vexillians, like Drax, valued elaborate verbal rituals before any conversation. Most importantly, Illyri concluded, never refuse a food offering. It's considered deeply offensive across all cultures. Ryan nodded, trying to absorb everything. What exactly is the challenge tonight? Drax believes humans are barely civilized, incapable of functioning in sophisticated galactic society. She straightened his collar, her touch lingering slightly longer than necessary. Your task is simply to prove him wrong. By not punching anyone? Ryan joked. By being yourself, she said seriously. The version of yourself that designed starship engines, not the one who survived the mines. The grand atrium of the Galactic Council outpost was breathtaking, a vast domed space with transparent sections revealing the stars above. Crystalline structures cast prismatic light across the gathering of the most diverse collection of beings Ryan had ever seen. Remember, Illyri whispered as they entered, Drax will try to provoke you. He wants you to appear primitive. As if summoned by her words, Ambassador Drax materialized before them, resplendent in crimson regalia, adorned with even more trophies than before. Commissioner Illyri, he performed the elaborate Vexillian greeting ritual, and the human specimen dressed up like a proper galactic citizen. How charming. Ambassador, Ryan responded, perfectly executing the same ritual Illyri had taught him. I believe the proper term is cultural consultant, not specimen. Surprise flickered across Drax's face before his composure returned. Indeed. Well, let us see how well you consult this evening. Throughout the next hour, Ryan navigated the complex social landscape with careful attention to Illyri's coaching. He avoided eye contact with the Tarkusian trade minister while discussing mining efficiency improvements. He complimented a Meldorian diplomat's emotional expressiveness when their skin flushed orange with pleasure and at his interest in their poetry. All the while, he felt Drax's amber eyes tracking him, waiting for a mistake. The opportunity came when a server presented Ryan with a platter of writhing, tentacled creatures still clearly alive. Ah, Gorvalian squirm grubs, Drax announced loudly, drawing attention. A delicacy, though most non-Vexillians find them challenging, perhaps too primitive for our human friend. Every eye in the vicinity turned to Ryan. Refusing would violate the most basic diplomatic protocol, but the creatures were still moving. Ryan maintained his composure, recalling survival training. He'd eaten worse in the field. With a polite nod, he selected one of the squirming creatures and, without hesitation, consumed it whole. The texture was revolting, like chewing rubber bands filled with cold soup, but he managed to smile. Interesting flavor profile. Reminds me of Earth sea urchin, though with more vitality. A ripple of impressed murmurs spread through the onlookers. Drax's expression darkened. You seem surprisingly adaptable for a species so new to galactic society, a Meldorian elder observed, their skin shifting to a curious blue-green. Humans have always excelled at adaptation, Ryan replied. It's how we survived on a planet with such diverse environments and challenges. Yet your kind also wages war on itself, Drax interjected. A sign of primitive development, wouldn't you agree? The trap was obvious, but Ryan didn't flinch. We've certainly made mistakes in our history, but conflict also taught us the value of diplomacy, compromise, and finding common ground with those different from ourselves. Perhaps that's why I feel so at home here tonight, among species far more advanced than my own. The elder's skin flushed with approval. Wisdom beyond your species' years. Fascinating. As the evening progressed, Ryan found himself genuinely enjoying the exchange of ideas with beings from across the galaxy. When a Tarkusian official recognized him from the mines and made a disparaging comment, Ryan responded with such gracious humor that even the Tarkusian seemed disarmed. Later, as a musical performance began, Illyri found a moment alone with Ryan. You're doing brilliantly, she whispered, standing closer than diplomatic protocol strictly required. Drax is furious. I'm just following your lead, Ryan replied, suddenly very aware of her proximity, the subtle floral scent that seemed to emanate from her azure skin. No, she shook her head. You're showing them something they have never seen. A human's natural ability to connect across species boundaries. It's remarkable. The way she looked at him then made Ryan forget about the challenge, about Drax, about everything except the violet depths of her eyes and the slight parting of her lips. The moment was shattered by Drax's sharp voice. How touching! The specimen has charmed its owner. Illyri stepped forward. The challenge, Ambassador. Has Ryan demonstrated sufficient adaptability to galactic society? Drax's amber eyes narrowed. He has performed adequately, but social niceties are mere mimicry. The true test of a species' worth lies in how they handle real pressure. His lips curved in a predatory smile. Which brings us to the second challenge. Tomorrow, at my private compound. I hope your human is as adaptable under stress as he is at sipping drinks and swallowing insects. As Drax stalked away, Ryan exchanged a concerned glance with Illyri. What just happened? He asked. You won the first round, she replied, her expression both pleased and worried. But Drax never loses gracefully, and he designs the final challenge. Drax's private compound loomed like a dark fortress against the crimson sky of Tarkus IV's northern hemisphere. Unlike the elegant spires of the diplomatic quarter, this structure was all hard angles and imposing barriers, surrounded by force fields that shimmered faintly in the morning light. Subtle, Ryan muttered as their transport descended toward the landing pad. Illyri's expression was tense. Drax built his reputation collecting the rarest and most dangerous species in the galaxy. This place is part zoo, part laboratory, part gladiatorial arena. Charming. Ryan flexed his hands, mentally preparing himself. Any last-minute advice? Trust your instincts, Illyri said, her fingers briefly touching his. Humans have survived for millennia on a planet that tried to kill you in 1,000 different ways. That resilience is something Drax fundamentally doesn't understand. The transport doors opened to reveal Drax himself, flanked by 2 hulking guards of a species Ryan hadn't encountered before. Reptilian, with multiple arms and armored skin. Welcome to my humble collection, Drax greeted them with false warmth. I trust you're prepared for today's educational experience. Ryan stepped forward. Just tell me what the challenge is. Drax's amber eyes gleamed. Direct. How refreshingly primitive. He gestured toward a massive dome behind him. Today's challenge is twofold. Survival and protection. Supposedly human specialties. As they followed Drax into the compound, Ryan noticed display cases containing everything from tiny glowing insects to what appeared to be sentient plant forms. Each specimen was labeled with its planet of origin and apparent value. Your diplomatic performance yesterday was adequate, Drax remarked casually, but social mimicry is simple. Today we test something more fundamental, a species' response to threat. They entered a control room overlooking an enormous enclosed habitat. Through the transparent barrier, Ryan could see what appeared to be a jungle environment, though something about the vegetation seemed off. Colors too vivid, shapes too angular. This is a recreation of the death forests of Nexus Prime, Drax explained, pride evident in his voice. Every plant is carnivorous, the air contains mild toxins, the temperature fluctuates between extremes. Even the soil harbors parasitic organisms. Ryan studied the environment, military training kicking in as he assessed threats and resources. The challenge is simple, Drax continued. The human will be placed in the habitat with this. He held up a small containment unit housing what looked like a trembling ball of luminous fluff. A Lumerian cloud sprite, one of the most delicate creatures in the galaxy. It cannot survive temperature extremes, physical trauma, or toxins. And I'm supposed to keep it alive in there? Ryan asked, already calculating survival strategies. For 1 hour, Drax confirmed, while also avoiding becoming food for the habitat's other resident. At his gesture, a section of the habitat wall slid open, and a massive creature prowled into view. It resembled a tiger crossed with a scorpion, 6-limbed, armored, with a venomous stinger tail and fangs that dripped a glowing green substance. A Nexian stalker, Drax said with obvious satisfaction, the apex predator of Nexus Prime. Highly intelligent, incredibly fast, and perpetually hungry. Illyri stepped forward. This is excessive, Drax. The agreement was to test human adaptability, not to execute him for your amusement. The human survived 6 months in Tarkushian mines, Drax countered smoothly. Surely he can manage 1 hour in a controlled environment, unless you concede that humans are too fragile for such challenges? Ryan caught Illyri's eye and gave a slight nod. I'll do it. Ryan, Illyri began. I've got this, he assured her, studying the habitat more carefully now. Military survival training covered worse. Drax looked disappointed by Ryan's confidence. We shall see. The entrance is there. You'll have 30 seconds to orient yourself before the stalker is released from its containment area. As Ryan was escorted to the habitat entrance, Illyri caught his arm. "Be careful," she whispered. "The sprite can't survive without maintaining its energy field. It needs to stay calm." Ryan nodded, taking the containment unit. Inside, the fluffy creature trembled, emitting a soft, musical hum. "Hey, little guy," he murmured. "Don't worry. I've got you." The airlock cycled, and Ryan stepped into the alien jungle. Immediately, his skin prickled with the mild toxins in the air. Not enough to incapacitate, but definitely uncomfortable. The temperature was sweltering, easily over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and the humidity made breathing difficult. The containment unit opened automatically, and the cloud sprite hovered uncertainly before settling on Ryan's shoulder, its hum becoming more melodic. "That's it," Ryan encouraged, already moving deeper into the vegetation. "We need to find shelter before—" A bone-chilling roar cut him off as the stalker's containment area opened. Ryan caught a glimpse of gleaming armor and flashing fangs before he ducked into the underbrush. From the control room, Drax watched with predatory anticipation, while Illyri maintained a carefully neutral expression, though her hands were clenched tightly at her sides. "Your human will make a brief but entertaining show," Drax commented. "The stalker can track prey through solid walls. The jungle offers no concealment." Inside the habitat, Ryan was already proving him wrong. Rather than running blindly, he had immediately begun gathering materials, stripping certain plants of their fibrous bark, collecting the sticky sap from others. The sprite stayed close, its humming changing pitch whenever they approached particularly dangerous vegetation. "You're helping me, aren't you?" Ryan realized, watching how the sprite's glow dimmed near a beautiful but deadly-looking flower. "You can sense the dangers." The stalker's roar came closer. Ryan worked faster, fashioning a crude sling from the plant fibers and collecting several heavy seed pods. When the massive predator burst through the vegetation, Ryan was ready. Instead of running, he stood his ground, the sprite tucked safely against his neck. The stalker paused, clearly surprised by prey that didn't flee. "Come on, kitty," Ryan taunted, swinging his makeshift sling. "Let's dance." The stalker charged. Ryan released the seed pod with perfect timing, striking the creature directly between its four eyes. The pod burst on impact, releasing a cloud of spores that caused the stalker to rear back, pawing at its face and hissing in pain. Ryan didn't waste the opportunity. He sprinted away, heading toward what appeared to be a rock formation. Behind him, the enraged stalker recovered and gave chase, its stinger tail lashing furiously. In the control room, Drax's smug expression had been replaced by one of surprise. Interesting strategy. Futile, but interesting. Illyri said nothing, but a small smile played at the corners of her mouth. 40 minutes into the challenge, Ryan had managed to not only keep the cloud sprite alive, but also evade the stalker's increasingly frustrated attacks. He'd created a makeshift shelter inside a hollow tree trunk, using wet vegetation to mask their scent and the sprite's natural luminescence. In the control room, Drax's initial amusement had given way to visible irritation. "The timer appears to be malfunctioning," he announced suddenly, tapping at the control panel. "We'll need to extend the trial until the systems recalibrate." Illyri's eyes narrowed. "There's nothing wrong with your timer, Drax. You're changing the rules because the human is winning." "Nonsense," Drax dismissed her with a wave. "I'm simply ensuring a fair test. Perhaps another hour will provide more conclusive results." While they argued, Illyri noticed something on one of the secondary monitors, a section of the habitat that wasn't visible from the main viewing area. The camera showed what appeared to be a hidden chamber, and inside— "Those are humans," she whispered, recognizing the distinctive features of three figures in containment pods. They wore tattered uniforms similar to Ryan's original clothing. Drax quickly switched off the monitor, but not before Illyri had seen enough. "Part of my private collection," he said smoothly, "acquired through perfectly legal channels. The Galactic Council prohibited the collection of sentient species decades ago," Illyri countered, her mind racing. She needed to warn Ryan, but how? Inside the habitat, Ryan was planning his next move when the sprite suddenly began vibrating intensely, its hum changing to a series of distinct patterns. "What is it, little one?" Ryan whispered. The sprite floated from his shoulder, hovering in a specific direction before returning and repeating the movement. It was trying to lead him somewhere. "You want me to follow you?" Ryan asked. The sprite's glow pulsed in what seemed like affirmation. Against his better judgment, Ryan left the relative safety of their hiding place. The sprite led him deeper into the habitat, toward an area that seemed different from the rest. The vegetation was less dense, the ground more even. Suddenly, the sprite darted forward and pressed itself against what appeared to be solid rock. To Ryan's astonishment, its light revealed a nearly invisible seam, a hidden door. "What the hell?" Ryan murmured, running his fingers along the edge. With careful pressure, the panel slid open, revealing a sterile corridor that contrasted sharply with the wild habitat. Ryan hesitated only briefly before entering, the sprite floating anxiously beside him. The door closed automatically behind them, sealing out the jungle and its predator. The corridor led to a chamber filled with containment pods, and Ryan's heart nearly stopped when he recognized the faces inside 3 of them. "Commander Torres, Lieutenant Park, Ensign Terry," he breathed, approaching the pods. His crewmates from the Earth vessel Explorer were alive but unconscious, suspended in some kind of stasis field. In the control room, alarms blared as sensors detected the habitat breach. "He's found the collection chamber," Drax snarled, frantically working the controls. "Activate security protocols." Illyri acted instantly, slamming her hand down on the emergency override. "Security access. Commissioner Illyri, Elysium Diplomatic Corps. Authorization Gamma 97. Transmitting to Galactic Council headquarters now." Drax lunged at her, but Illyri was faster, dodging his grasp and maintaining her connection to the console. "You fool," he hissed. "Do you have any idea what you're doing?" "Exposing your illegal collection of sentient beings," she replied coldly, "including humans who should have been returned to their homeworld or formally registered as diplomatic contacts." Inside the chamber, Ryan was trying to decipher the pod controls when a holographic message appeared in the air before him. Illyri's face, her expression urgent. "Ryan, Drax has been illegally collecting sentient species. I've alerted the Galactic Council, but he's activating security measures. Get your crewmates and get out. Emergency exit code 7-3-9-Alpha. The message flickered out as Ryan heard mechanical sounds from the corridor. Security drones deploying. He quickly entered the code on the nearest control panel, and to his relief, the stasis pods began powering down. Commander Torres was the first to regain consciousness, her eyes widening at the sight of him. "Caldwell? Is that really you?" "No time to explain, Commander," Ryan said, helping her out of the pod as the others began to stir. "We need to move." Now. Back in the control room, chaos had erupted. Drax had called in his security forces, but Illyri had managed to seal the doors using her diplomatic override codes. It wouldn't hold them for long. "You've ruined everything!" Drax seethed, his normally composed demeanor shattered. "Do you have any idea how valuable those specimens are?" The human alone could have. "He's not a specimen," Illyri cut him off. "None of them are. They're people, with rights recognized by the Galactic Compact." A thunderous crash against the sealed door indicated Drax's guards were attempting to break through. Illyri knew she needed to buy Ryan more time. "The Council will have your collection confiscated and your diplomatic status revoked," she told Drax, edging toward the secondary exit. "If they find anything," Drax replied, his voice suddenly calm, "but I'm afraid there will be a tragic accident before investigators arrive. A diplomatic incident involving an Elysian commissioner and her human pet. Such a shame." Illyri realized with a chill that Drax intended to eliminate all witnesses. She had to reach Ryan before Drax's forces did. Meanwhile, Ryan and his 3 crewmates had made it to an emergency exit, the sprite still leading the way with its bioluminescent glow. As they emerged into a maintenance area, Ryan spotted a familiar azure figure running toward them. "Illyri!" he called out, relief flooding through him. Their eyes met across the distance, and something electric passed between them, a connection that transcended species and circumstance. In that moment, surrounded by danger, they both recognized what had been building since their first meeting. "This way," Illyri directed them toward a service hangar. "There's a transport we can use." As they ran, Ryan introduced his crewmates. "Commander, this is Commissioner Illyri. She's the reason we're getting out of here." Torres gave Illyri an appraising look. Thank you, Commissioner. Though I'm curious about your relationship with my engineer. It's complicated, Illyri replied, a flush darkening her azure skin. She bought me, Ryan explained with a hint of humor, despite their dire situation. Technically true, Illyri admitted as they reached the transport, though the arrangement evolved somewhat. I'll say, Torres remarked, noting the way the two looked at each other. As they boarded the transport, security alarms blared throughout the compound. Illyri took the pilot's seat, her fingers dancing across the controls. The Galactic Council's security forces are on their way, but we need to be gone before Drax's guards reach us, she explained, initiating the launch sequence. Ryan sat beside her, their shoulders touching. Where are we going? Illyri's violet eyes met his, filled with determination and something deeper. Somewhere safe? And then we have a third challenge to win. The transport shot through the upper atmosphere of Tarkus 4, its engines straining as Illyri pushed it to maximum speed. Behind them, 3 sleek pursuit vessels had launched from Drax's compound, their weapon systems already charging. They're gaining, Commander Torres reported from the sensor station. Those are military-grade interceptors, not something a diplomat should have access to. Drax has connections throughout the Tarkusian military, Illyri explained, executing a series of evasive maneuvers. His collection activities have made him both wealthy and dangerous. Ryan studied the navigation display. Where exactly are we headed? My private sanctuary, Illyri replied, not taking her eyes off the controls. An asteroid base in the outer system. It's shielded from sensors and officially doesn't exist. A warning alarm blared as one of the pursuers fired a warning shot across their bow. This is Ambassador Drax of the Vexillian Confederation. A familiar voice crackled over the comm system. Return my property immediately or be destroyed. This is your only warning. Illyri cut the transmission with a disgusted gesture. Charming as ever. Can this transport outrun them? Lieutenant Park asked, her engineer's eye assessing their vessel critically. Not conventionally, Illyri admitted, but we have one advantage. She nodded toward the cloud sprite, which was hovering anxiously near Ryan. Lumarian sprites can manipulate energy fields. If we can reach the asteroid belt, it might help us hide. Ryan exchanged a glance with the sprite, which had remained loyally by his side since their escape. You hear that, little buddy? We're counting on you. The sprite's glow pulsed in what seemed like determination. As they approached the asteroid belt, Drax's ships closed the distance, energy weapons charging for a disabling shot. Illyri guided their transport into the densest part of the field, massive rocks tumbling around them in a dangerous dance. Everyone hold on, she called out, executing a series of maneuvers that sent them skimming past asteroids with mere meters to spare. Ryan turned to the sprite. If you can do something, now would be the time. The tiny creature rose from his shoulder and began to spin, its glow intensifying until it was almost painful to look at. Suddenly, the transport's energy signature fluctuated and then seemed to disperse, spreading throughout the asteroid field in a confusing pattern. On their sensors, they could see Drax's ships slowing, their targeting systems unable to lock onto the transport's now diffused energy signature. It's working, Ensign Terry exclaimed. Not for long, Illyri cautioned. The sanctuary is just ahead. The transport emerged from the asteroid field near what appeared to be an unremarkable cratered rock. As they approached, a hidden hangar door slid open, and Illyri guided them inside with practiced ease. Welcome to my true home, she said as the hangar repressurized around them. The interior of the asteroid base was a stark contrast to its barren exterior, a series of elegant, comfortable chambers carved directly into the rock and furnished with an eclectic mix of items from across the galaxy. Living plants grew in hydroponic gardens, providing both food and oxygen. This is incredible, Ryan remarked as they moved through the main living area. How long have you had this place? It was originally a mining outpost, Illyri explained. I acquired it decades ago when I realized I needed somewhere truly private for my work. Which is what exactly? Commander Torres asked, her tone professional but suspicious. No offense, Commissioner, but we've had enough surprises for one day. Illyri smiled. Fair question. I'm part of a network within the Galactic Council working to reform our first contact protocols. The treatment of your ship and crew is exactly what we've been fighting against. She led them to a communications array, where she quickly established a secure channel to Galactic Council headquarters. After a brief exchange with a senior official, she turned back to the humans. The Council is dispatching security forces to Drax's compound, but it will take time. Meanwhile, they've officially registered your presence and granted temporary diplomatic status to all of you. That's a start, Torres nodded. What about the rest of our crew? The Council will begin a search based on the data I transmitted, but Illyri hesitated. But Drax will be hunting us in the meantime, Ryan finished for her. And he still controls the final challenge. Precisely, Illyri confirmed. He's declared the third challenge to be a hunt, with all of you as the prey. Typical, Ryan muttered. Turn a diplomatic competition into a blood sport when you start losing. Illyri directed the others to guest quarters where they could rest and recover from stasis, leaving her alone with Ryan in the main chamber. The cloud sprite had settled into a small energy field Illyri had prepared for it, its glow dimming as it rested. You should get some rest, too, she told Ryan, her violet eyes studying his face with concern. You've been through more than any of them. I'm fine, he insisted, though the exhaustion of the day's events was beginning to catch up with him. Illyri stepped closer, her azure fingers gently touching the fresh scratches on his arm from the jungle habitat. You humans are remarkably resilient. Any other species would have collapsed after what you've endured. We're stubborn that way, Ryan smiled, suddenly very aware of her proximity, the subtle floral scent of her skin. It's more than stubbornness, she said softly. It's something I've never seen in any other species. You don't just survive. You thrive on challenges. You connect with other life forms. You protected the sprite when most would have abandoned it to save themselves. Her hand was still on his arm, her touch sending a current of warmth through his body. Ryan found himself leaning closer, drawn by something beyond physical attraction, a recognition of kindred spirits despite their different origins. Why did you really buy me, Illyri? He asked, his voice low. At first, professional curiosity, she admitted. But then, she hesitated, her azure skin flushing a deeper blue. Then I began to understand why humans fascinate so many species. You're passionate, unpredictable, loyal, everything the sterile diplomacy of the Council lacks. Ryan's hand rose to cup her face, his thumb tracing the delicate line of her jaw. And now I know why the Council fears humanity's entry into galactic society, she whispered, leaning into his touch. You change everything you encounter, including me. The distance between them vanished as their lips met, tentatively at first, then with growing hunger. Different species they might be, but in that moment such distinctions seemed meaningless compared to the connection they'd forged. Later, as they lay entwined in Illyri's private chamber, the asteroid's artificial night cycle casting soft shadows across their forms, Ryan traced patterns on her azure skin. What happens after we deal with Drax? He asked. Illyri propped herself up on one elbow, her violet eyes serious. The Galactic Council will need to formally acknowledge Earth's existence. Your people will need representatives who understand our society. Are you offering me a job? Ryan teased, pulling her closer. I'm offering much more than that, she replied, her fingers threading through his hair. But first, we need to survive Drax's hunt. He won't give up easily, especially now. As if summoned by her words, an alarm began to sound throughout the sanctuary. They both leapt up, Ryan pulling on his clothes as Illyri activated the security monitors. He's found us, she said grimly, watching as Drax's ships approach the asteroid. And he's brought reinforcements. Ryan's expression hardened with determination. Then it's time for the final challenge. But this time, we set the rules. Their weapons are locked on our primary life support systems, Ensign Terry reported, her fingers flying across the sanctuary's defense console. One direct hit, and we lose atmosphere in 60% of the base. Commander Torres surveyed the tactical display grimly. We can't outgun them, and our shields won't hold against a concentrated assault. Ryan studied the approaching vessels on the monitor. 3 military-grade interceptors and Drax's personal ship, a sleek, predatory craft bristling with weapons that no diplomat should possess. He's hailing us, Lieutenant Park announced. Illyri nodded. Put him through. Drax's face appeared on the main screen, his amber eyes gleaming with malicious triumph. Commissioner Illyri, how disappointing to find you harboring fugitives and stolen property. The only criminal here is you, Drax, Illyri replied coolly. The Galactic Council has been notified of your illegal collection activities. A regrettable misunderstanding that my connections will resolve, Drax dismissed with a wave. However, we still have the matter of our final challenge to conclude. Ryan stepped forward. Your hunt? Seems like you've stacked the odds a bit heavily in your favor. The savage speaks, Drax sneered. Yes, human, the hunt. Though I'm willing to be reasonable, surrender yourself to me now, and I'll allow the others to live, at least until the council arrives to sort out this unfortunate situation. Ryan felt Illyri tense beside him. And if I refuse, then I'll destroy this entire asteroid and everyone on it, Drax stated matter-of-factly. My ships are already in position. You have 5 minutes to decide. The transmission cut, leaving them in tense silence. He's bluffing, Torres said, though her expression suggested otherwise. The council would never... The council is hours away, Illyri interrupted, and Drax has enough firepower to make good on his threat. Ryan's mind raced through options, discarding one after another, and then he remembered something from his military training. Sometimes the best defense was an unexpected offense. I'll go, he announced. Ryan, no! Illyri grabbed his arm. He'll kill you. Not immediately, Ryan countered. He wants to study me, add me to his collection. That gives me time. Time for what? Torres demanded. Ryan turned to the cloud sprite, which had been hovering anxiously nearby throughout the crisis. Our little friend here has some interesting abilities we haven't fully explored. Understanding dawned on Illyri's face. The energy manipulation? Exactly, Ryan nodded. If the sprite comes with me, hidden, it might be able to disrupt Drax's systems from inside and give us an advantage we don't have from here. Torres looked skeptical. That's a hell of a gamble, Caldwell. It's the only play we've got, Ryan replied. And there's something else. Drax's obsession with collecting rare specimens means he'll want to gloat, to show me off before he does anything permanent. That's our window. After a tense discussion, they formulated a hasty plan. The sprite would hide within Ryan's clothing, using its ability to mask its energy signature. Meanwhile, Illyri would prepare the Sanctuary's small shuttle for a potential rescue mission once Drax's shields were compromised. As Ryan prepared to leave, Illyri pulled him aside, her violet eyes intense with emotion. This isn't just about winning a challenge anymore, she said softly. You know that, right? Ryan cupped her face in his hands. I know. That's why I have to do this. Their kiss was brief but fierce, a promise rather than a goodbye. Ryan pressed his forehead against hers. Remember what you said about humans changing everything we encounter? Trust that. The sprite hummed softly as it settled into a hidden pocket inside Ryan's jacket, its glow dimmed to near invisibility. With a final nod to his crewmates and a lingering look at Illyri, Ryan entered the airlock. I'm coming out, Drax, he transmitted. Just me. The others stay safe. Drax's personal shuttle extended a docking tube to the Sanctuary's airlock. As Ryan stepped through, he was met by 2 of the reptilian guards, who roughly searched him, though not thoroughly enough to discover the sprite's hiding place. They escorted him to the ship's main chamber, where Drax waited, resplendent in ceremonial hunting attire. The savage sacrifices himself for the herd, Drax observed, circling Ryan with predatory satisfaction. How predictably primitive. I prefer to think of it as honoring our agreement, Ryan replied calmly. The final challenge, one-on-one. Oh, there's no challenge left, Drax laughed. You've lost. I've won. But I am curious, what did you hope to accomplish with this gesture? Surely you didn't expect mercy? I expected you to be exactly who you are, Ryan said. Someone who values rare specimens above all else. Drax's amber eyes narrowed. And what is that supposed to mean? It means I brought you something even more valuable than a human, Ryan smiled. At his subtle signal, the sprite emerged from hiding, its glow suddenly intensifying to blinding brightness. Drax's guards recoiled in surprise as the sprite began to spin rapidly, emitting pulses of energy that interfered with the ship's systems. Lights flickered, control panels sparked, and the artificial gravity wavered. "What is this?" Drax demanded, stumbling as the deck shifted beneath him. "The third challenge," Ryan answered, lunging forward to tackle Drax while the guards were disoriented. "Humanity versus your so-called superior species." They crashed to the floor together, Drax's ceremonial weapons scattering. Despite his slender appearance, the Vexillian was surprisingly strong, his obsidian skin tough as armor. But Ryan had 6 months of mind labor and a lifetime of military training behind him. As they grappled, the Sprite continued its assault on the ship's systems. Alarms blared and the guards struggled to maintain their footing as the gravity fluctuated wildly. "You think this changes anything?" Drax snarled, managing to throw Ryan off momentarily. "Even if you defeat me, humans will always be seen as savages by the civilized galaxy." Ryan rolled to his feet, circling his opponent. "That's where you're wrong. We're not fighting to prove we're the strongest or the most advanced. We're fighting for something you'll never understand." "And what's that?" Drax sneered, drawing a hidden blade from his boot. "Connection," Ryan replied, dodging Drax's first slash. "Humans don't just survive, we form bonds. With each other, with other species, even with tiny sprites that most would consider significant." The Sprite, as if understanding, pulsed brightly and dove toward the ship's main control console, disappearing into its circuitry. Suddenly, the view screens activated, broadcasting their confrontation to all nearby vessels, including the Sanctuary and, more importantly, the approaching Galactic Council ships. "What have you done?" Drax hissed, realizing they now had an audience. "Given you what you wanted," Ryan replied, "a public demonstration of human nature." With renewed fury, Drax attacked, his blades slicing through the air where Ryan's throat had been a split second earlier. But Ryan had been fighting for his life since the moment his ship was captured, and Drax's rage made him predictable. Dodging another wild swing, Ryan countered with a precise strike to Drax's wrist, sending the blade clattering across the deck. Before Drax could recover, Ryan delivered a powerful combination of blows that drove the Vexillian to his knees. "Yield," Ryan demanded, standing over his opponent. "Never," Drax spat, blood trickling from his mouth. "I'd rather die than lose to a savage." "That's the difference between us," Ryan said, stepping back. "I don't need to kill you to win." Humanity doesn't measure victory in body counts. At that moment, the ship shuddered as a larger vessel locked onto it with a tractor beam. The view screen showed a massive Galactic Council security cruiser that had arrived sooner than expected. "This is High Marshal Torin of the Galactic Security Force," a stern voice announced over the comm. "Ambassador Drax, you are under arrest for illegal sentient trafficking, unauthorized weapons possession, and attempted genocide." Drax's face contorted with rage as his guards were swiftly subdued by Council security officers boarding the ship. "This isn't over, human," he hissed as he was led away in restraints. "Actually, it is," Ryan replied. "You lost the moment you decided humans were just another specimen for your collection." 3 weeks later, Ryan stood before the Galactic Council chambers. The formal diplomatic attire Illyri had selected, feeling much more natural than it had at their first gala. Beside him stood Commander Torres, the rest of his rescued crewmates, along with the 27 other humans who had been recovered from various Tarkusian facilities. Illyri, resplendent in her official Elysium diplomatic regalia, approached the podium to address the assembled representatives. "Esteemed council members, I present to you the official delegation from Earth," she announced, "a species whose first contact with our galactic community was regrettably hostile, but whose response has demonstrated qualities we would do well to emulate." The council chairman, a venerable being of indeterminate species, leaned forward. "Commissioner Illyri, your report indicates that you believe humans should be granted Class 1 diplomatic status immediately rather than the standard observation period. On what basis do you make this unprecedented recommendation?" Illyri smiled, her violet eyes finding Ryan's. "On the basis of their demonstrated capacity for adaptation, cooperation across species boundaries, and perhaps most importantly, their ability to value connection over conquest." She gestured to the cloud sprite, which now hovered proudly near Ryan's shoulder. This Lumerian sprite, a being most would consider insignificant, formed a symbiotic bond with a human within hours of meeting him. Such cross-species empathy is rare, even among our oldest civilizations. The chairman considered this. And what of the human tendency toward violence? Ambassador Drax's testimony. Ambassador Drax is a criminal who projected his own predatory nature onto a species he failed to understand, Illyria interrupted firmly. When given the opportunity to kill his captor, this human chose mercy. When faced with self-sacrifice or allowing others to be harmed, he chose self-sacrifice. These are not the actions of savages. After further deliberation, the Council voted overwhelmingly to grant Earth provisional diplomatic status, with Ryan appointed as the first human liaison to the Galactic Council. As the formal proceedings concluded, Illyria found Ryan in the antechamber, her azure fingers intertwining with his. "So, Liaison Caldwell," she teased, "how does it feel to go from mind slave to diplomat in less than a month?" Ryan pulled her close, no longer concerned about diplomatic protocol. "Better than being a specimen in someone's collection?" "You were never just a specimen to me," she whispered against his lips. "I know," he smiled. "You just wanted to study human culture." "And I've learned so much," she replied with a mischievous gleam in her violet eyes. "Though I believe there are still aspects of human interaction that require further research." As they slipped away from the diplomatic crowds, Ryan reflected on the strange journey that had brought him here, from captive to curiosity to champion of his species. The universe was vast and often dangerous, but humanity had proven itself ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, and he wouldn't be facing them alone.